She remembers the silence first, not the shouting, not the fear, but the silence, the kind of silence that sits heavy in your chest and makes you question your own. Thoughts she used to think love sounded like laughter, like late night. Conversations like the soft comfort of being understood, but somewhere along the way, that love turned into something else. Something quiet and controlling. Something that slowly erased her voice without her even realizing it at first. It did not start with pain, it started with attention, with care, with someone who seemed to notice everything about her, the way she smiled, the way she spoke the things she loved. He made her feel special, like she mattered more than anyone else in this world, and for a while she believed that this was what love was supposed to feel like: intense, consuming, powerful. She did not see the warning signs, because they were hidden behind compliments and promises and a kind of affection that felt impossible to question. But slowly things began to change, not all at once, not in a way that would make her run, but in small moments that felt confusing. He would get upset when she spent time with friends. He would question her choices, her words, her intentions. He would say it was because he cared, because he loved her, because he wanted to protect her, and she believed him because she wanted to believe that love could look like this, that maybe this was normal, that maybe she was the one who needed to change. Over time, she found herself apologizing more, explaining, more, shrinking herself just to keep the peace. She stopped wearing certain clothes because he did not like them. She stopped talking to certain people because it made him uncomfortable. She began to filter her own thoughts before speaking, afraid of saying something that would trigger another argument. And every time she adjusted herself, she told herself it was for the relationship, it was for love. But love should not feel like walking on glass. It should not feel like you are constantly trying to prove your worth. It should not feel like fear wrapped in affection. And yet she stayed because leaving felt impossible, because she remembered who he used to be, because she hoped that version of him would come back, because she believed that if she just tried harder, love deeper became better, then maybe everything would be okay again. There were moments when she almost saw the truth, moments when the mask slipped, when his words cut deeper than before, when the anger in his eyes felt unfamiliar and dangerous. But those moments were always followed by apologies, by promises, by tears that made her question her own reality. He would tell her he did not mean it, that he was just stressed, that he needed her, that she was the only one who understood him, and she would hold on to those words because they felt safer. Then the alternative. Days turned into months, and months turned into years, and somewhere in that time she lost parts of herself. The girl who once laughed freely, the girl who once dreamed without fear, the girl who once believed she deserved happiness. She became someone quieter, someone smaller, someone who measured her worth through his approval, and even then it never felt like enough. There were nights when she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how she got here, wondering why she felt so alone even when she was not alone, wondering why love felt like something she had to survive instead of something she could rest in, and deep down she knew something was wrong, but admitting that truth felt like breaking everything she had built. The hardest part was not the pain, it was the doubt, the constant voice in her head telling her maybe it is not that bad, maybe you are overreacting, maybe this is just how relationships are supposed to be. That voice kept her there longer than anything else. It made her question her own instincts, her own feelings, her own reality. But something inside her refused to disappear, completely, a small, quiet part of her that remembered who she used to be, a part that whispered that this is not love, that this is not what you deserve. That voice was not loud, but it was persistent, and slowly it began to grow. One day something shifted. It was not a dramatic moment, not a single event that changed everything. It was a realization, a quiet understanding that she could not keep living like this, that she was losing herself piece by piece, and if she stayed, there would be nothing left of who she once was. The fear of leaving was overwhelming. The unknown felt terrifying. She did not know where she would go, how she would start over, how she would rebuild a life she had spent so long trying to hold together. But for the first time, the fear of staying became greater than the fear of leaving. So she began to plan quietly. Carefully, she started to reclaim small pieces of her independence. She reached out to people she trusted even when it felt uncomfortable. She gathered the courage she had buried for so long and held on to it tightly because she knew she would need it. Leaving was not easy. It was not a single moment of strength, but a series of small decisions, each one harder than the last. There were tears, there was doubt, there were moments when she almost turned back because the familiar pain felt easier than the uncertain future, but she kept going because deep down, She knew she deserved more than this. When she finally walked away, it did not feel like freedom. At first it felt like loss, like grief, like stepping into a world she no longer recognized. She had to learn how to trust herself again, how to make decisions without fear, how to exist without constantly seeking approval. It was a process, a slow and sometimes painful journey, but it was hers. Healing did not happen overnight. There were days when the past still echoed in her mind, when the words he used still lingered, when the doubt tried to creep back in, but with time those voices grew quieter and her own voice grew stronger. She began to rediscover herself, the things she loved, the dreams she had, set aside the parts of her that had been hidden. For so long she learned that her worth was not defined by someone else, that her voice mattered, that her feelings were valid, and that love should never come at the cost of her identity. She found strength in places she never expected, in the support of others, in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the simple act of choosing herself again and again. She realized that bravery is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to walk away, to start over, to believe that you deserve better even when it feels impossible. Her story is not just about survival. It is about transformation, about finding light in the darkest places, about reclaiming a life that once felt out of reach. She is not the same person she was before, and she does not need to be, because the person she has become is stronger, wiser, and more aware of her own value. She knows now that love should feel safe. It should feel like home. It should never make you question your worth or silence your voice. And if it does, then it is not love, no matter how much it may seem like it. There are still days when the past feels close, when the memories try to pull her back, but she reminds herself how far she has come, how much she has overcome, and how she made the choice to leave even when it was the hardest thing she has ever done. Her story is a reminder that no matter how lost you feel, no matter how deep you are in something that hurts, there is always a way out. There is always a chance to begin again, to choose yourself, to find the strength you did not know you had. And somewhere out there, someone is listening, someone who feels the same fear, the same doubt, the same confusion. And maybe hearing this story will be the moment they realize they are not alone, that what they are feeling is real, that they deserve more than a life filled with fear, because leaving is not the end. It is the beginning of something new, something uncertain, but also something full of possibility and hope. And even though the journey is not easy, it is worth it, because you are worth it. And one day you will look back, not with regret, but with pride, knowing that you found the courage to walk away, and in doing so, you found yourself again.